homicide detective just after Dwayne Davis, Keefe D's, arrest.
As we all know, Tupac Shakur was an artist who was signed with Death Row Records. And that Death Row Records and its CEO, Marion Suge Knight, were closely affiliated with the Mob Piru criminal street gangs, and that they had an ongoing feud with the South Side Compton Crips. Dwayne Davis was the leader and shot caller of the South Side Compton Crips.
Members of both gangs were, say police, at the Tyson fight in the MGM Grand that night. And afterwards, in the lobby, Tupac, Knight, and others spotted Keefe D's nephew, Orlando Anderson, and beat him up.
Little did anyone know that it is this incident right here that would ultimately lead to the retaliatory shooting and death of Tupac Shakur. Dwayne Davis began to devise a plan to obtain a firearm and retaliate against Suge Knight and Mr. Shakur for what occurred inside the hotel against Mr. Anderson.
Anderson, his uncle Keefe D, and two other men allegedly got into a white Cadillac and followed Knight and Tupac, who were in a black BMW en route to a club. Investigators allege it was Anderson who actually pulled the trigger.
Were you involved in any way in the death of Tupac Shakur?
No, I was not involved.
Anderson was shot and killed 8 months after that interview with CNN. Keefe D is the only man who was in that white Cadillac who is still alive. He's now 63. No one says he pulled the trigger, but he was, they say, the shot caller. And under Nevada law, he can still be charged with murder.
Within the first few months of the investigation, our detectives knew most of the information I just briefed you on. However, we never had the necessary evidence to bring this case forward.
His own words, say investigators, were Keefe D's undoing.
Specifically, Dwayne Davis's own admissions to his involvement in this homicide investigation that he provided to numerous different media outlets.
He described a moment, he says, he handed Anderson, who he calls Lane, a gun while riding in the white Cadillac. It's in audio featured in the documentary Murder Rap, inside the Biggie and Tupac murders.
I gave it to Dre, and Dre was like, no. And Lane's like, dude, Bob.
But
what makes me saying I don't give a fuck different than Patrick Henry saying, give me liberty or give me death? What makes my freedom less worth fighting for than Bosnians or whoever they want to fight for this year?
We're here with Mopreme Shakur of the famous Shakur family. There have been thousands of interviews about Tupac Shakur. Today is not one of them. Today we are talking with a man who lived the history before the headlines, before Death Row, before Platinum Records, a revolutionary, a father, an author. The conversation is about history through the eyes of Mopreme Shakur.
Why was now the right time to write your story, and what was missing from the public record that only you could tell?
The timing. In the early years, we spent a lot of time, surviving and building our careers. And then, once we started, I came out first, and Parker right behind me, and then the mission was to make sure he got to where he needed to be. He had the best opportunities. He was also a movie star. So we both felt we needed to take advantage of these opportunities because they were like a charmed time in our lives. Fast forward to now, I've been through a lot, seen a lot, done a lot. Considering the loss of a lot of members of my family, it all made sense to try to get it out. The book out now. This stuff's like, present day, everybody's trying to maintain, stay and refrain from all the suckers in the game. We are, just good old black folk. My sister likes to cook. She be cooking a lot. My brother has, I got a brother that has a hotel business down in Atlanta, Mutulu Shakur. Seth also does her philanthropy foundation still, just remotely. And it could be any number of those things that we're doing at any given time. Like you said, we come from our family is community organizers, a lot of different community organizers and people who cared about the people, you know, and their well-being, their health and their well-being, which is kind of sort of like two different things. You know, their health is one thing, but their well-being, being able to pay them bills, so they're not on the street. You know, take care of the kids. It's a constant rotation of efforts to keep the community healthy.
How was Tupac as a brother?
Commitment, dedication. It was the unifying piece, what solidified the unification of the brotherhood. You know, whether chosen family or blood family. You know, if you're a brother, our brother, my brother, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. I took it seriously because until I was like 5 years old, 5, 6 years old, I didn't even know I had a brother. So when I discovered I had a brother, I was excited. I was elated. I hadn't met my brother or my father until I was about 5 or 6 years old. Because I was in the South for the first few years of my life. My mom was 17 when she had me, you know, and she tried to get her life together. So it was all new. It was all new, and it was great. You know, I was so young I hadn't even thought about having a brother or sister. As far as I knew, I was the only one. So I love
Any untold Tupac stories?
Look at we try to get the goods. We try to get the goods. You know what? I could cook. I've seen my nigga cook. I've seen him make a few dishes. Me and my man Mouse, we would go and we would go shopping together and get the ingredients, come back. I could cook. He learned some stuff from his mom, and he liked food, so we would cook every now and then. I was a rice guy. I made the rice. He always wanted me to make the rice. Yes, I was the rice guy. Yeah. I did enjoy that about him.
So, before we go further, there was a clip that I seen online that I thought matches your book that you have out right now. It was Pac at the Roy Wilkins Park, Jamaica, Queens in 1994. He's on camera talking about people giving back, even if they could give $1 to the fund that he was doing to bring artists and resources back into the neighborhood, even artists such as Snoop to perform. And that was not just a one-time thought. There's also an interview online, not an interview, but a phone conversation with Sanyaka Shakur, known as Monster Cody. Pac is again talking about community structure with youth leagues, elders, churches, security, and getting that community spirit going again. We do not see that as trivial. We see that as the blueprint that people in general might miss about thug life. Could you go into that more?
Yeah, you know, our intentions was sincere to help our community. The thugs is our community. Dude, the street cats, that was our guys. The disenfranchised, incarcerated, prisoners, black, white, yellow, brown. We deal with the people. My father was an acupuncture doctor as well. So he treated everybody. He treated everyone who came to the clinic, you know, who was in need. To help the community, drive has always been there. I mean, even on the West Coast, Pac helped with the gang troops out here in '94.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't fake, you know what I mean? But the thug life umbrella was used to, you know, get their attention. You know, there was a steady group of people who were seeing Pac as, you know, just a pretty boy actor, a rapper guy who didn't have any depth.
What part of thug life has never been properly understood?
vision was always to create an entity that we can communicate and help our people. You know, and a lot of times in our communities, we're more of the harder edge. That's it. And it started back before something like this, but then we lost one of the homies. Trajectory got a little harder, a little more pointed. So, you know, Pac had a dream about others, telling us about it. We started creating songs around it. But my father, who was in federal prison at the time, you know, he had been captured, and we would talk, and we were like, thug like, what is that? What you mean thug like? You know, what are you attracting here? This is not good, guys. You're gonna stick up everybody on the street. It gotta mean something. And then Pac proceeded to he proceeded to flip out on Mutulu. Well, Mutulu, you write the code then. Me and Mo out here working. We out here recording. We out here doing shows. We doing movies. We working. We ain't got time to do everything. We can't do everything. Well, if you're familiar with my brother, you know that was
Pac right there.
So, my father with you know, some of the brothers he was incarcerated with behind the walls that he trusted, some GDs, some Vice Lords, Bloods, Crips, all chipped in on some notes for what we were trying to do, which ended up becoming the Turk. And you know, that show that's in Wilkins Park, Jamaica, Queens. I'm from Jamaica, Queens, so I was there. But that was you know, a concert to help the Thug Life movement, that help promote the Thug Code as well. And you know, we've always been trying to keep it real from the jump. You know, you know, Pac was a real cat. You know, he tell the truth and shame the devil. So, you know, trying to do that, as well as we needed to talk to the people, because that's when they were starting the crime bill. Clinton was starting the crime bill, and we knew that, as well as the brothers behind the wall knew that that meant us. You know what I mean? They were coming for us. So we were trying to get some messages out. The common denominator is whether you, no matter what country you're from, if you're poor, they understood our message. You know, if you come from disenfranchised portions of wherever you're from, you understand what we're talking about. We felt it was important, especially here in America, because this country is supposed to be #1 in the whole world. How the hell we on this day? And that kind of, you know, messes with a lot of men's psyche. We feel, you know, Pac was a champion for the young black male. And, you know, it's a lot of disrespect in society. We're disrespected quite often, from reparations to now. And, you know, we wanted to encourage the brothers that you can do things, you can accomplish things, you can survive the poverty, we can make it. You don't got to kill each other. You know, you got to be smart. You know, that's what Pac was trying to promote. Insist on love, which is often lost in the conversation. But it's very real and very powerful. I don't know if there's any words I would never use because, you know, and with censorship, but, you know, everything can be explained to a certain extent. Whatever you're talking about, it can be explained to a certain extent. And that not being able to say certain things is dangerous, because when they go things, first of all, they need to be safe enough to say what the problem is, if there's a problem, whatever's going on. And if you censor them, it won't be until decades in some cases. That's just my personal view. You know, I was abused as a kid, so I understand that, you know, you got to have some place to feel free to speak your mind and say what it is to the best of your ability.
If someone wanted to build the real Thug Life model in 2026, not just the image, what would that look like?
In 2026, it would look like a broad communication with each other internationally. And you know, it's but what do we do with that energy? You know, since the book has come out, I'm getting a chance to talk about Thug Life again and the principles behind it. But you know, people been reaching out worldwide. They understood it because a lot of people recognized it, and then a lot of people didn't. And it's the hate you gave little infants, everyone. Excuse my French. The hate you gave little infants, everyone. If you don't take care of them kids and babies, they can grow up to be the monsters that we fear today. And that's where the love part comes in. You know, it was more thought of and put into it than people may have thought. Well, I was looking to tell my life story. You know, I had gotten locked up for something silly. It was post-Pac, well, after Pac passed away, and I was in jail thinking about myself and thinking about the journey as well. And, you know, it's like everything else, it's hills and valleys, highs and lows. And, you know, at the same time, I've suffered a lot of loss, you know, a lot of loss. Family, and I'm blessed to still be here. I felt I need to start getting it down. It wasn't overnight. You know, I got my first 80 pages, then Life Be Life in. Then I got a few more pages. Then I had to get a writer to help me because I wanted an actual book deal so I could have a broader reach. So it was a journey. It's been a journey. But the last like 4 years, 2 years of writing and 2 years of editing. Writing it really sharpened my memories. You know, 'cause, you know, I've been in the game quite a bit. The book goes back to, you know, day one. So I had to remember a lot. A lot of reflecting, a lot of talking to different people who've been with me on the journey, you know. And with Pac's work ethic, amount of, as much as we were doing, a lot of it was a blur. You know, we each had music careers, and he had and he was still digital underground. And, you know, so it was a lot. So I did need a little help here and there remembering some key moments. I wanted the importance of my father and the family side journey in there as well. Details, because I was a kid. You know, we were kids. Our parents were all FBI signals one. So a lot was kept secret. A lot wasn't talked about until later. You know, so it took some doing, but only I could do it because only I was in these situations. Well, writing it was easier than the audio. Some people, their action back there would have been harder, but when I was recording the audio, the last chapter, you know, I'm going through it, and then I just broke down. For 15, 20 minutes, guru, and I don't know, maybe I'm extra sensitive to audio, with hearing the words, it affected me. And that didn't happen when I was writing like that. It was just the words, just the impact of that. I think that was the hardest. Yeah, man. Ooh. I felt somewhat lighter because I felt like the book was important, because not mainly have wrote a book like this, coming from inside the movement, as a kid in the movement. The things that Pac and I accomplished, and the stuff that I accomplished, the stuff we accomplished together, it needed to be noted for instance. Our issue is that we all public people. Once you're a public person, anybody can write a story about it. And so with that comes inaccuracies, lies, distortions, you know what I mean? It was really important for me to get my story. And I felt that what my family had accomplished was important as well. And some of that story needed to be told too. You know, the fact that I got it out, got some stories out now, it lightens the burden.